Hello and welcome! Silrace here with Support Sunday, and this week's episode is going to be a little bit different because I want to talk about the design of the support heroes and some of the related things and issues and possible pitfalls and what I would also like to see in the future as well. Background footage is some Tyrande gameplay, and let's get on with this stuff, huh? Firstly, I want to talk about matchmaking. So currently, at the time of making this video, Blizzard's matchmaker works in such a way that it tries to pair a support with a support, as in if there is a support on the enemy team, it adds a support on the opposing team. Well, basically there is supposed to be a support on both teams or no support on either team. So this creates some big issues with the current support pool. Firstly, we have Tasada, who doesn't heal like almost at all, and then we have Tyrande, who doesn't compare in the healing numbers quite favorably against things like Uther and Malfurion and Lily and so on. So her support is also a little bit different. And we have a nerfed Brightwing. Brightwing was nerfed a little too hard, so her healing numbers don't really come to their own anymore either. And this creates some massive issues with teams where when you play quick match, for example, you have someone who queues up as a Tassadar and ends up being team support against the opposing team having Uther. So basically you have a support on either team, one team's support does not have heals, the other team does. So in my honest opinion, this system needs to either change. Either these heroes need to be changed, or then there needs to be an exception for things like Tassadar and possibly Tyrande as well from this rule. This is, in my honest opinion, bad design and bad matchmaking choices, because it screws people over, right? With the kind of a impact supports can have into the games, having heals or not having heals is kind of a big thing. And of course, we also have the issues which came up with Karazin, because he's the first actual support who can choose to not be support. And so if you land with a Karazin on your team as the support, and that person decides to be selfish and not pick up on his support role, you end up with yet another, well, wannabe assassin on your team, while the enemy team has an actual healer, actual support, and your team doesn't, even though you have the support hero. This creates some more issues as well again. Obviously that is on the players to make that decision, to realize that they need to play team game as a team. But it would be much better overall if that role was forced on the hero and not simply a pickup line. So that's about matchmaking. I don't really complain about matchmaking a whole lot, but this to me is an issue which still needs to be solved, because it frankly makes it not fun for some people from time to time. Anyway, let's go on other things. Firstly, I want to talk about Brightwing, because Brightwing, in my honest opinion, was just straight up nerfed way too hard. Way too hard. There are design issues with the way Brightwing does stuff, because her healing is purely passive. The trait, well, there is an active, which allows activating the trait. But basically it works in such a way that she just wanders around and heals people around her every few seconds, basically 5 seconds. That is like bad design in my honest opinion, because healing is supposed to be an active job, considering how all the other healers do theirs. What they should have done, in my honest opinion, is to simply tie, well, Brightwing's passive into her abilities. so that the trait would trigger when she uses an ability, including when she arrives into a location using her mount. This would have suddenly given her a much more active healing role, and frankly this would have meant, well, tweaking her numbers, which was done, but it was done across the board on her. Basically every aspect of her was kind of scaled down, and now she's seen almost never again. Because she was super strong, so she needed to be toned down, I agree with that, but the tone down was way too harsh. Like, this is not how you balance stuff. You try to balance things, you don't try to destroy things. That's my opinion on that particular issue. On the same vein, I want to talk about Karazim. Karazim is an interesting hero concept and kind of interestingly done too, but again we run into design issues where every other support in the game is essentially forced into the support role. Tyrande and Tazadar are a bit of an exception. Tyrande still does support the stuff, but she does her support in a different fashion, including things like True Shot Aura and Vision and whatnot. Tazadar also provides Vision and Absorption Shield, but provides massive damage burst with the Archon. However, Karazim can choose to not be a support. How does this even work? You have all the other supports locked into their support roles, such as Uther and Malfurion and Lily. You cannot choose to be a damage-dealing Malfurion or a damage-dealing Uther, in all honesty. You might have a burst damage heroic of some sort, or a crowd control heroic as it comes to Uther, but it just doesn't change their basic kit away from, healing. Whereas on Karazim, he can choose to pick a trait which allows his auto attacks to heal, but he can choose to not do that, in which case he is only left with one heal. This is very curious concept, and I kind of expect to see more of these coming as Blizzard picked up this idea. Frankly, to me this is a bad idea, because if this is the case, this is the course of action we are going down the road with, how about we just, put out clean slates, let us pick the skin we want to play, and apply World of Warcraft style 3 specs to them. Such as I wanna play King Leoric, but I still get the talent choice of like, do I wanna be a healer Leoric, do I wanna be a tank Leoric, or do I wanna be a damage dealing Leoric? To me this is a bad game designed for a MOBA game, for this particular style of a game, but if this is what is to be done, then so be it. I will probably stop playing it at that point, but yeah. Karazim, like I said, also creates this matchmaking issue because of that. Frankly, I am expecting Karazim to starting to become a tournament norm in the way that, because he is so flexible, in the sense that you can go more damage or you can go more support, and you don't have to choose this before you actually load into the game. This is becoming seems to becoming a flex pick, where you pick it early in a draft or whatnot, in a hero league or team play or whatnot, and then you decide later on, do I need an actual support or is Karazim enough, based on what you see on the enemy team. And frankly, there is no real other hero capable of doing this. Unfortunately that is the case, but that also means Karazim's value is going to skyrocket once people realize that he can do multiple things. Maybe not as well as a pure assassin, or not as well as a pure support, but that's the, nature of the flex spec, of actually having more utility to it, to your cat. In my honest opinion, this is bad design, but that's my opinion on it, and you're free to disagree, but if you disagree, don't disagree just to disagree, but be able to come up with actual reasons. Anyway, let us move on. The other issue I have with the design of the supports in this particular game, I have had for a long time, is how little actual skill it requires. Look at the amount of skill shot heals in the game. Where are they? Basically, Uther has 1, and the rest of them are essentially smart heals, passive heals, or a target double heal, where basically the only way you can fail is if you click on the wrong hero. You look at Lily's basic healing brew, and it is smart cat. Granted, there is a little bit of skill there to actually move out of range of the other heroes, so you can only land it on the one hero you want to heal. This is a little bit of skill aspect, but in general, it's just you spam that ability and it throws it to whoever needs it. And then you have chain heal on Rhaegar, where the you target it on a hero. But then the other 2 bounces from that chain heal bounce a little bit here and there as a, you know, auto-targeting aspect of it. Of course, the only real skill shot heal is on Uther. And why is this a thing? I don't know. Give us more skill shot heals. I frankly would like to see this as a more of a risk versus reward gameplay style, because you could make those heals stronger, you could make them have other effects to them, such as granting block charges, granting all sorts of other things, but make them skill shot. The same way I would have loved to see cleanse as a talent, not be a, you know, straight up target this hero and it cleanses them and it freaking gives immunity. Instead, make it a skill shot where it cleanses the first slow route or whatever they have been hit with. That would have been much harder to do and would really have elevated the amount of skill play needed on the healer, on the support, to actually be done with, well, be doing all of that, right? Anyway. So, what would I love to see in the future? Firstly, I would love to see less assassin healers, in the sense that I would love to see less hybridation of stuff, because you cannot choose to be a damage dealing Johanna. You're a warrior, you are a tank Johanna when you play. You don't have the damage of an assassin, why should you? Because you are a warrior. I would love to see a little less of this flexibility and more defined heroes with more defined skill choices, in the sense that if you are lock a hero into a role and keep it in that role and balance it onto that role across its peers or across everybody else on that role, so we have maybe a little bit tighter squeeze between good and bad heroes in every single role. When was the last time you saw, well, Raynor, Tigers? Well, Raynor was actually played in a tournament a little bit ago, but essentially you're seeing my point. Anyway, as for a couple support type heroes I would love to see, Discipline Priest type of hero, Discipline Priest from World of Warcraft, as in something which can give absorption shields. I am not talking about massive absorption shield, I'm talking about shorter cooldown than their duration, smaller absorption shields with a little bit of healing on top of that, and maybe some kind of a, well, damage ability as well. Holy fire, call it whatever you want. That would be fantastic, because we don't really have that yet as a healer. We have Tassadar, who gives massive shields, and everybody has a, you know, protection shield they can get as a talent, basically everybody. But we don't have an actual healer who works through absorption shields instead of recovering health. It would be interesting to see how it fits into the bursty meta to actually have heroes which try to mitigate the burst at the start of the teamfight, instead of actually trying to heal through the burst, based on whoever is getting bursted down. That would be very interesting, and it's also one reason why I would love to see it, because maybe we are getting away a little bit from this burst metagame. Maybe, possibly. It would at least veer us towards that direction. But most of all, in the future, I really would love to see us getting skill shot heroes. Or skill shots added to current support heroes. So as to reward more skillful play, instead of simply being smart casted or targeted heals. Because there are those of us who really enjoy playing support and it's not just, well, I wanna be a damage dealer, but I might have to still heal my teammates, because that seems really boring, right? Anyway, thank you very much for watching this ramble, and why not, hopefully you, well, got up with some few things, if nothing else, when you are playing Karazim and you are the team's only support, at least go for that support route if you happen to be watching this into the future. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Also, I'm gonna let the game run to its end, so if you wanna watch it all the way to the end, you're free to do so, just none of my commentary on the rest of this video.
Let us capture this mercenary camp.